So here we are, a bit further down the line, and I've just taken the petrol tank out there with the help of the jack there, leaving a big hole in the bottom of the boot that's got to be sorted out, and fix all that rust around the edge there and give that a coat of paint, and leaving about 15 litres of scummy old petrol. So there's a bit of an oddity going on here because there's two great big holes there in the back there. I don't know what they're for, and there's no matching screw hole for the screw hole in the back of the centre here. I've started taking all the bits off the front, the suspension and the steering. So let's have a look under here. Oh. So I've taken off the spindle for the wheel, and next job is to take off this spring. So I've got a spring compressor fastening there. Has to be a bit higher up than I'd hoped, because has to be 4 inches on the end of here, because the spring is 4 inches longer when I take it off than when it is in there. So we'll have 4 inches of thread on there, and at the top I've actually fastened the spring in there over the top there to the other spring on the other side. So that will hold the spring in place while I compress it up, and when I've taken the spring, compress it all the way up to the top, I can then take off this arm here and then release the spring again and take the spring out. That's the plan anyway. So, bring it over here to show you the steering box. I don't know whether you can see down in there. Nope. Let me do it. Oop. Down the bottom there is the steering box, and you have to adjust that screw on the top to get the correct centre mesh load. So come over here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So I built myself a torque wrench that does inch pounds. You turn it like that, you get the reading off of the inch pounds along the top. And when I did this at first, you back off the screw and I turned this, there was no centre mesh load at all, it was all constant all the way through. So I've had to adjust it now. That's the centre. Steering stop. 1.5. I'll just take it slowly past the centre here. There it goes. So it's up to 9 inch pounds in the centre. So now I've just to tighten up the bolt and the thingy bob, and that'll be done. Thank you, darling, for filming that.
You're welcome.
So this is the heater box out of the Mustang, and this bit normally sticks out into the engine bay, and the air goes in here, goes round and round and round, whoa whoa, and it comes out here to be sent off to the various bits and pieces. The actual heater core is missing at the moment because that's got a leak in it. But this is the noise it makes when I turn it on. So not a very good noise. Originally the fan and the motor would have been balanced together, I read, so you buy a new fan for it and just the fan's balanced, and the motor's the original motor and it's got really worn out bearings in it, but we'll try balancing it a bit. So this is my setup, which I thought I'd try to balance this fan. You can see the motor, the old motor behind, the fan's a new fan on front. There's already some weights on here somewhere which were put on by the manufacturer balancing the fan. I thought it might be useful to know the position of the rotation of the fan as we were measuring the vibration. So I've got a light sensor here, and I'm using the torch here to provide light for that, because otherwise it picks up the mains on the lamp above. And here I've sellotaped a accelerometer, and I've got the scope showing the light picked up. I've drawn black lines on there. The light sensor it's got some smoothing on it, so you don't actually see the twin pulse when it's spinning, but you get a vague idea of how it all kind of goes together. So if I turn the fan on the scope here, you can see the top scope entry is the light sensor, and the bottom one is the vibration picked up by the accelerometer. But in reality, I didn't need the light sensor because it gave the impression that the weight would be needed somewhere plus or minus a third from the position of my marks there, when in reality the balancing weight was needed pretty much where the mark was there. Okay, so I played around sticking dobs of blue tack on the point where it was needed to get the right balance, and this is pretty much as good as I can get it. If I turn it on again, you can see the bottom trace here, which is the vibration, is a lot smaller than it was. It's about a seventh of the level that it was. So I'm quite pleased with that. So if I stick that back into the machine, we'll see how much quieter it is. Put the motor back into the heater box. I'll just turn it on. And as you can hear, probably, that is a lot quieter and doesn't have that awful metallic banging about it. So I'm quite pleased with that. So all I've got to do now is work out how to put those weights on, not using blue tack. So I think I'm going to try soldering some bits of copper wire onto the cage itself. We'll see how that goes.